Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be reviewing my very first Olszewski miniature pieces. So I used to collect the Gallery of Light pieces, which is basically a light box, a miniature light box in which you have a little scene. So sometimes Olszewski made Disney scenes, or sometimes he made biblical scenes such as the Last Supper or the Nativity scenes. And he would basically place lights inside the light box, and the entire thing would just kind of like lit strategically and with different colored lights, so that it would look as if you're looking into a tiny little diorama piece. So this piece right here is actually sort of like a more full-scale miniature building piece of that. And of course, it is lit up as well, because that's one of Olszewski, I think, his signature. Well, his signature is miniature pieces, but also the way he lit his pieces is usually very spectacular and very realistic, or almost to like real life situations. So the Haunted Mansion right here has always been one of my favorite rides. And as a kid, I used to watch the Disney sing-along songs, in which, of course, many of you 90s kids would relate to. And one of the most famous sequence that I remember from watching that one is the Haunted Mansion sequence, in which it takes place in the Disneyland park. So of course, this building right here is what I've always associated the Haunted Mansion to, this sort of like New Orleans plantation building. And of course, this one is also my favorite, is because it's the one that Walt Disney personally touched himself. And of course, he mentioned specifically to his Imagineers that he wanted the mansion to have a very manicured exterior with a very decrepit interior. As you know, that they made another version of the Haunted Mansion in Magic Kingdom straight after Disneyland, and the architecture that they use for that one is based on the colonial architecture, so very gothic and very creepy and dark overall, because like this, you already see a lot of white paint, so it just has a more cheerful attitude. But the one in the Disney World is actually a lot darker and a lot more gothic, and the Imagineers actually kind of broke off from Walt's design, and they added a creepy exterior as well as the interior. But of course, I'm really glad that until today, the Imagineers still stuck to Walt's original vision for his Haunted Mansion. And the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland is always kept manicured. It always looks pretty from the outside. Of course, there's a sense of foreboding, and I think that comes from the many trees that surrounds the attraction. And of course, there's a small graveyard along a house, and when you see that, you always associate it with a haunted house. So let's get started right here as we get closer. So of course, we always start by the entrance right here. So the details in this thing, I mean, this is my first one, but man, the way they make sure that all the details are there, it's quite amazing. They even have the sort of like the waiting clock, the Q clock right there next to the gates, which I don't know if they still use anymore, since these days we have digital clocks and fast passes. But I suppose back in the day, this was made, I believe, in the 2000s, and back in the day, I suppose they would still depend on clocks for fast passes. So of course, you have these two gates in which they have the Haunted Mansion emblem right there, the little black circles on the gates right there with a little lights. And you have all these different like tree bits and little lanterns and gates. Even the ironing on the gate is very well done, and it's very consistent throughout. I mean, Olszewski has really done an amazing job with these. You can even see the detail on the bricks on the pavement. I mean, it's sorry, it's kind of blurring out right there. Oops. So there it is. You can see the detail on the bricks. It's very, very amazing the way he carved individual bricks in there. And of course, as you go into the path, you can see there's a sundial right there in a bed of flowers. And of course, you see this huge hearse on your way to the entrance. And of course, it is drawn by the famous invisible horse. And as you move along here, you can see there's a little pet cemetery there. And I believe that's probably a cat. And probably next to the cat, I don't know what that is. Probably a snake or something. But even the little gardens that he kind of shaped with the trees is very, very cool. And you can see a little bit of a suggestion of a bed of flowers. And usually you go to the side here, you can see there's a little red fire hydrant. And there are more pet cemeteries right there. And I believe there's another one hidden under the tree there. You can kind of see. And on the side here, we have these kind of, you can see it along the wall, there's these kind of like black paints over there. That's actually our little crypts. You couldn't really see it on the video, but if you get really, really close, it's actually little crypts that you usually see on the exit. You can see there's little boxes right there. So as we go to the mansion itself, the famous mansion, you have, of course, the famous wreaths in the middle right there. I'm really not sure why they included that wreath. Maybe because it's sometimes people put wreaths on the graves of their loved ones. I suppose that's what it is. And of course, there's these two like hanging drapings over the railings, which I'm never sure what they are really for. And the details on this, I mean, it even goes to the inside of the railings right there. You can see there are tiny little tables right there. And there's little chairs even on the inside. And there's this kind of like white chair right there, which I never seen the actual attraction. So maybe Olszewski kind of like added that to the second floor. So of course, usually for guests, we go, I think in the early days, the guests would actually go straight through the pillars right there and go to the right here for the entrance to the stretching portrait. As we go up, we see more windows right there, details of windows. I mean, it's amazing. You can even see the wood paneling for the house. You can see the chimneys and of course the famous cupola right there with the little weather vane of the ship. So the weather vane is actually a separate piece so that when it's packed, it won't break during the shipping. As we go to the side, we see more trees. So the one thing that I surprisingly fell in love with this piece are the tree bits. They are so realistic, and yet they're also, I don't know, the way they're made, the sculpt and the paint job, everything just looks really, really nice. I just really love it because usually with miniature trees, they tend to kind of make it too, I don't know, smooth maybe. But these trees, they're really, really well textured and also well painted, and they have different shades of paint, and it kind of adds a certain texture and depth to the trees. And of course, you have this side little crypt here, which is the exit, as some of you know from the attraction. And of course, we have the pathway winding along the side here, and you have more trees on each of these pillars. I mean, even the trees on each of them, they're all different shapes and sizes. It's quite amazing. So there you have it. That's the front part of the attraction right there. And of course, as we move it to the back, you can see I have a little bit of a wire here. That's for the lights later on. As as we move on to the back, you can see that there is a the back of the mansion right here. It's kind of done very generically, in my opinion. They just kind of put windows in there and a chimney, but that's because, of course, in real life you never see the back of the mansion, because, you know, it is the show building that kind of extends from the front exterior of this attraction. But of course, with any Olszewski, they are famous to have a ride design on the back. So of course this one opens up. Oops, it's kind of getting stuck there. Yeah, it's not opening up right now, I think. Oh, there it is. It's opening up right there. And you can see the first scene that we have. We have the Hall of Changing Portraits. You can see the first one, we have the leopard woman, and then we have the electrocuted horse, we have Medusa, we have the ghost ship, and finally on the corner there we have the aging lady. And of course you have these two all-seeing busts that kind of follows you everywhere. And the detail on this, I mean, you can see it on the wood paneling, even on the floor. And the ceiling is actually not visible in this one, but there is another part of this which I'll show you later, in which they included the ceiling part as well. And on the side here you can see some of the familiar door frames that you usually see in the attraction. And of course right there you can see in the dark, it's the stretching portrait. And if I press down on this kind of like cupola right there, you can see that it'll reveal something very sinister. There you have it. You have the hanging ghost host hanging from the ceiling rafters of this portrait right there. So it's very creepy and it's very cool. I mean, that's probably my favorite part of this entire piece right here. So the back of the mansion right here features several interchangeable pieces in which you can kind of like replace if you want to. So the first one is right here. I'm just gonna place it in there. There you have it. You have sort of like a duplicate of the changing portrait hall. The only difference that they use is that they included the carpet in the bottom right there, and there's all these kind of like famous bat railings, which is famous in the attraction. And of course they included also in the ceiling, you have this kind of like very detailed wood paneling. I mean, for a miniature, I mean, it's amazing how they kind of make these consistent ceiling wood panels right there. It's pretty much a duplicate, so everything is about the same. You see, you have the two busts right there. And there, it's pretty much it for this one. So for the next one, we have the ballroom scene right there. There you have it. Man, this is probably my second favorite, just because the next one is so filled up and so compact. I just love that one more. But this one is probably the second best out of the three scenes that they included for the back right here. You can see all these translucent figures that they use for the ghost. You can see there's the maid right there trying to blow the candle. There's a little granny on the corner right there sitting on the chair, and then you have the dancing couples, and of course the organ player on the corner right there, and the details on the furniture. I mean, they even have the chair back there. Of course they have the organ and all these tiny little trinkets on the table. It's just like you're stepping into the attraction itself. I mean, it's amazing. It's like, I mean, we're in quarantine right now and I can't go to Disneyland, but you know, just seeing this alone just takes me back to the days when I was at the park I mean, the details is amazing. They even built the second floor. They have the dueling portrait on the wall, even on the banister. I believe in the original was sort of like, it's a bit dark right there, but you can see it's a bit broken around the banisters. And of course, as usual, the ceiling is impeccable. There's always a design on the ceiling as well. Yeah, it's very, very cool, and it's very small. I mean, I'm shooting this on an iPhone 12, so that's the reason you can see all these details, but keep in mind, these things are really, really small in real life. So you see, that's my finger right there. It's enormous. Okay, so let's move on to the last scene, which is my favorite out of this entire scene that they included. And it's the heaviest one too, like in the box. So there you have it. You have the graveyard scene. Of course, you have the petrified caretaker at the front with his little dog. You have the singing bus over there, and the depth of this thing, it's amazing. You see, you can feel the depth that they included in there. And of course, you have the hitchhiking ghost. And there are some ghosts right there. It's a bit dark, and they're sort of like covered by the cemetery gate. But you can see a bit of a transparent figure right there, which only you can see when it lit up a little bit later on. But yeah, but overall, everything, like down to the tree details. I mean, it's amazing what they can do with this tiny little space right here. So there you have it. That's my review for part 1 of my review for the Haunted Mansion Olszewski. Part 2, I will really try to showcase all the different light works that they have in this piece, and hopefully you guys enjoy and stay tuned for that one. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave more of your collection stories down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.